You can't reason with the sun. Trust us, we've tried. This summer, it's time to put that angry ball of fire on mute. Columbia's Omni-Shade technology is engineered to protect you from the sun's harsh rays that can burn and damage your skin. The sun is relentless, but so is our gear. Level up your summer at Columbia.com to spend more time outside and less time slathering on aloe lotion. You're welcome. Columbia, engineered for whatever.
Hello and welcome to episode 451 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up. In a very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson, and I am delighted to welcome onto the show today the team behind Murder Ballads, How to Make It in Rock and Roll. It's a feature film that I was delighted to be involved in to help in any way I could, because the team got in touch, because they listened to the podcast and they've reached out, and they're amazing people and they've made an amazing film, and it's out now on Amazon Prime and on Apple TV and YouTube. It is called Murder Ballads, How to Make It in Rock and Roll. So joining me today is the director, writer and producer, Mitchell Tolliday, the producer and writer, Neil Rickatson, and the producer and casting director and actress, Lauren Cornelius, to talk about how they made their wonderful, very low-budget indie feature, Murder Ballads. They talk about short films, why they should be under 15 minutes, and the shorter the better. And the same thing applies when you're talking about a feature as well. How you can make a feature from a short film, this is exactly what Murder Ballads is. It is based on a short film called How to Make It in Rock and Roll, which the team made beforehand. They also talk about crowdfunding, finding finance, the benefits and the hard work that needs to go into a successful crowdfunder, how the team came together, they talk about that, and the importance of locations. And then we dive into the actual making of the film, the issues on set, how magic can happen on a feature film, and then the post-production side of things, how they sold the film, how they got distribution, how they put it into festivals, and they give you, dear listener, some lovely and quite amazing advice about how you can go out there and make your indie film as well. How are you all doing? I hope you're well. I hope you're super excited for another edition of the Filmmakers Podcast. I hope whatever you're doing is productive or has been productive in the last week, and make sure this week is even more productive, especially if you're going out there and thinking about making your indie film yourself. This episode will really, really help that. I have been resting and recovering from directing feature film sessions. Yes, it's been really nice to catch up with people, to meet people about new projects, to go up and see my family. 90th birthday I went to, that was lovely. And it's been a really good processing time for me before I dive into the edit on sessions as well. You do need that time, you do need that for your mental health and your well-being, is just to switch off. So I've tried to do that as much as possible. I played football, I met friends, trying to get back into the fitness thing, because when you're making a feature film you do need to be an athlete, or at least have an athlete's mentality going into it, because it is all encompassing. But when you finish and then you go back to playing seven-a-side, which I did, you suddenly realise there's a different kind of fitness, different kind of Olympic mentality. But anyway, I've survived a few hamstring troubles and back pain, but I'm all right. I'm going to get through this. So, Murder Ballads is 6 interconnected stories which basically tell the tale of the rapid rise and the violent fall of the rock band Stack. Like I say, this film is really fun. It's really entertaining, and is made on a shoestring budget as well. Cinematographer was Alexander Burgal. It was edited by Mitchell Tolliday, and it was cast A lot of them, if film was cast by JJB. Composer was Tom Watt. I was lucky enough to be an exec producer alongside Bijan Tong and quite a few of the cast members as well, who all chipped in and made this movie for love, heart, soul, and just the idea of going out there and making an indie film and doing something great together. The movie also stars Nikki Lynn, Marcus Massey, Mike Kelson, Verona Rose, Maxine Finch. JJB turns up as Donnie as well. Blaze Collins, Pericetta, Alex Nazir, and our leads are Fran McAteer, Luke DeBelder, Imogen Wild, and of course Lauren Cornelius. And joining them as a very special member of the cast is Simon Callow. Yeah, the wonderful award-winning Simon Callow, known for Four Weddings and a Funeral, A Room with a View, Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, that guy. They talk about how they got him on board and why you can get an actor of his caliber in your indie film as well. Right, here it is. No more messing around. This is the team behind Murder Ballads: Mitchell Tolliday, Neil Rickatson, and Lauren Cornelius. Chatting to me, Giles Alderson. Enjoy. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you? How was Sessions?
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah?
It was, yeah, you know, one of those shoots that just goes well.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how many of the crew, few crew and stuff that I knew and from other things and stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Connections, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because you got Oscar for the DOP for Kill Your Lover.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I helped out on.
It was a really good shoot. And fingers crossed now the edit's just as good and the post.
Yeah.
You just never know, do you? You never know what you've got.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's tough. That's exactly what we're going to say, I think, on this. It's like, right, how do we pre-produce a movie? Right, we've done that. How do we actually shoot the movie? Right, now we've done that. Yes, yeah.
Right, I think that's the best
only way to do it.
Tis the only way. Tis the only way.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you, Lauren? All right?
Yeah, just living the dream. Just here we are. I was with Julie earlier. Actually, we're doing a film together. So
which Julie? Julie Mayhew?
Sorry, Julie Mayhew. Yes.
Julie Mayhew.
Sorry, every time I think of, I'm like, we bumped into each other, didn't we? And in a random corridor, and it was like, oh, it's Julie. And I love that you guys live together, and you've got
I know, isn't that crazy? Back when we were both at drama school, Julie Mayhew and I lived together, and it's like crazy. You know, now she's a novelist and now making films as well. It's really cool. It's really good.
Yeah, no, I've been helping now. I've been edited a sizzle reel for their pitch deck. So yeah,
cool. Amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I love it. And
Julie's going to give us some notes on our next script as well, so we have some fresh eyes and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Fabulous. Cool. Love it. So Murder Ballads is out now, which let's start there, first of all, because it's always so hard to get an indie film out, you know, into the world. Yep. And there it is on platforms that people can watch it now around the world. Well, in most territories anyway. First of all, how does that feel? You know, because you've been working on it for 2 years at least.
Yeah. It feels great. This whole experience has been a learning experience, and it just feels really good for it to finally be like, talk about it and go, oh, and you can just watch it here, by the way. It is massive. I'm really glad that we're finally at that point. Because it took us quite a while to get there, but you know, learned so much along the way. Yeah,
you must have, which we'll dive into as well. Neil, for you yourself?
Yeah, kind of surreal. There was a point where we were in post-production and Mitch was sending me like a million different edits of scenes, and you feel like you're watching the movie over and over again, and you're like quality checking it before it goes out to the distributor and stuff. And I remember going through it, and like Mitch was like, we need to find all the logos in this movie and digitally remove them or get permission.
God.
And it wasn't like there were loads or anything, but like,
no, but
you'd watch it all and then you'd be like, oh, damn, I missed that one. So yeah, for a while it was just like, I never wanted to see this film again. And then once it's actually out and you watch it with like new people, or people tell you they've seen it and they give you their opinion on it and like, oh, this bit was great. Yeah, that's so like rewarding. It breathes a whole new life into the movie again for you.
Yeah, no, it really is. I remember with Food for Thought, which has come out as well not too long ago. It was a set. I was literally hours before the premiere, re-exporting it, changing little bits, doing a sound thing. I was like, I must do that. And it was like, driving myself insane with these tiny little things going, I can't bear to watch this movie again. And then when it's on big screen or it's on, as a premiere or a cinema screening or something, suddenly you go, oh no, yeah, it's all right. Or you're fearful of those moments. You're like, oh my God, did I get everything? Oh my God, how's that going to play? Oh my God, of course. But still amazing. What about you, Lauren? Same thing. How's, obviously, because it always feels amazing. But your experience.
Yeah, it feels kind of surreal because we've been talking about it's something that we've been talking about doing for so long, and it feels like it's been a really long process. And as Mitch was saying, like it's been the first feature that I've ever produced on and acted in. So it's been really nice to kind of balance doing the behind the scenes stuff, but then also, having the joy of like getting to see this character that I was working on from a completely different actor's perspective come to life, and just to be able to watch it is amazing. And from someone that has I've worked in the music industry alongside acting, and it's just kind of taking on a producer role has been something that I've just enjoyed so much. And so it's super rewarding to think. And I was like, I don't know what a producer does initially. Like, I didn't know. I just thought producers were people that, like, I don't know, had loads of money and just I don't know what I thought, to be honest. Like, I didn't learn that at uni or at drama school or anything. So it has been such an incredible learning experience, and we've kind of all supported each other, and I found that it's just amazing having the film out, because it's like, oh yeah, all those people that we kind of met along the way and that I brought in, and it kind of everything led to this moment of the movie being available. So it does really feel so exciting, cool, and rewarding, and all of these things all at once. So
yeah, that's wonderful. And now that you're a producer, you have all the money, obviously. So. Rolling in, and it must help your acting as well. When I first started making stuff, it suddenly changed how I was as an actor, and suddenly it was like, oh, okay, that's what goes into it, and that's what a producer does, and that's why I, won't ask for a car to pick me up or take me. You kind of suddenly see all these things that before you're like, why can't they give me it? Why can't I get this or that and the other? So as an actor, you go, okay. So has it changed you as well in that sense, in terms of when you've come onto other projects since?
I think, I totally get that. But I think because I've always, all actors are different, aren't they? And I've always just been so passionate about working with nice people, like, first and foremost, and really, really awesome stories. And it has definitely made, for all of this, I just didn't want to, I just was so passionate about telling the story. But yeah, it's made me think of things in a lot, in different ways, especially being on the casting side of things. I think growing up when you're kind of just starting out as an actor, so I've been doing this for a long time, but even as you get older, having not had any experience like behind the scenes, you just think of things so differently. And I think it's really important for actors to know that you can be a sick actor, you can be the best actor ever, but if you don't kind of fit into the jigsaw puzzle, then you're not going to get the part, and it's just not a reflection on your capability or you as an actor at all. And I think that was one of the key things that I took away from being behind the scenes and like looking at self-tapes and looking at, being a part of the audition process as an actor. I found it so fascinating. And so that was something that I think has kind of changed me as an actor, because obviously I still, when I'm going up for jobs that I really, really want, there's still an element there of like, God, I really hope I get this. I really want to do this. But if I don't, or it doesn't go my way, I'm not going to sit and cry about it now, because it just wasn't meant to be, and I just didn't fit into the jigsaw piece. And I think being a part of the production side and the casting side, it kind of opens your eyes to that. And I feel like every actor should kind of get involved behind the scenes in a project at some point in their lives, so that they don't hang everything on, whether they did a good job in the audition room.
I think that's so vital, and I think it sort of changes the way you go into auditions as well, right? And the way you go into them now as well. It's kind of like what you were looking for, and you sort of go, okay, that's kind of what they want, or it's this version of it. And rather than being, I'm right for this, or why didn't, there's this kind of a different mindset, isn't there, when you go in, when you sit on the other side of the table?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So yeah, it's just been so interesting. And yeah, having it distributed as well, like the power of going to film festivals, because obviously we've all bumped into each other and we've all done a lot of the film festivals, and you know, we can obviously chat about the film festival process. But Giles, obviously I saw you at Cannes Film Festival, and that was my first time going to Cannes Film Festival last year. And what an amazing experience. I wasn't there, you know, repping this particular project. I was there, something else I was in was having a little showing. But just, you know, just being in that environment and being open to meeting new people. I met another one of your wonderful friends, Johnny Grant. And
yes.
Shout out to Johnny, because had it not been for meeting him, Johnny wouldn't have connected to the person that we ended up working with for our distribution deal. So again, it kind of really opened my eyes to kind of just the power of I guess putting yourself out there and meeting people, and the whole, I mean, I hate to say it, but the whole like networking thing. You did, but without, I feel like I went there with a total open mind into, who knows, like I'm just here to be around really passionate people in the filmmaking world and have some drinks and have a good time, enjoy the sun, and you know, zero expectation, but just from being there and the connections that we made, and you know, then we ended up getting a distribution deal. So again, it's just something like so powerful to people to just say, do you know what? Just get out there, and you never know, like your film could get made that way.
Yeah. It's such great advice, and it's so true. You know, the Cannes Film Festival is such a great place to go meet people. No expectations, but the fact that you meet people and that leads to other stuff, especially if you're nice, and especially if you know, play the game, you email and you contact and you're just saying, hey, we've got this project, we've got this. Suddenly things breed, and it's so important to do that. So you're so right. Let's jump back to the beginning then, because this was a short film. I mean, this isn't a short film. Murder Ballads was based on a short film, obviously, that you were all involved in. So let's talk us through the beginning process of going. At that point, did you know you wanted to make a feature? At that point, were you just making shorts, seeing what stuck? Talk us through the very beginning. Mitch, maybe start with you on it.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, to go really far back, it starts like with me and Neil, like when we were at school, and like we've known each other since we were 8, and I think it was like we were writing like reviews of films as like, because it's what we connected over. We're obsessed with films together, and we decided we'd start a film magazine. And then like one summer, Neil just said like, no, actually, no, what? Instead of doing that, why don't we make a film? So we made a 70-minute horror film with a group of friends called The Unknown Soldier, where Neil played my character's grandfather who came back from the the dead on the farm and just went around slashing us all.
That's fantastic. What happened with that film?
We edited it on the school computer as well. Like the school had an editing suite that we were like, we have this film project, can we edit it? And they were like, sure, yeah. And then we spent months editing this thing together. And then at the end, they were like, what are you actually making? And we were like, oh no. It was, and had to come clean about it. But yeah, it was like a fun learning process. We learned so much about making it. I would not want anyone to ever see it.
Excellent.
It's, you know, but it's a start.
There's some moments in it that I still don't mind though, but yeah, overall definitely wouldn't see it. It was like they had an editing suite like in between 2 floors of our school, like very much like being John Malkovich, like the 7.5 floor.
I can imagine you running between the 2 floors, right? That one, quick, cut that run upstairs, change it around.
We could hear we had like an air vent at our feet, which was into the teachers' lounge, and so we could hear like what they were saying about like students and stuff.
Bad reviews,
but it was a great learning experience. Taught us so much, and like I think the highlight of it, or that wouldn't want that to happen like for all your films for sure, was that when we started like putting it out to like people to buy on VHS, like it got bootlegged around our school, and like so people had like copies of it without us knowing. We're like, okay, we're pretty happy with that.
That is really cool. That is really cool, especially if they like it as well. They bootlegged it because they liked it rather than watch this because it's a piece of crap. Which is really nice, right, for you guys, is to go, actually maybe we can do this. Was that the sort of catalyst to go, do you know what, we want to do this as careers?
I guess like I'd love to say that was it, and then we went off and did it. But like we went to different unis and did like some stuff together there, like when we met up. But it was always kind of like it was just us two really coming up with ideas, and we'd play maybe both characters, or there was even a film where I played every single character, shorts and stuff. And then I ended up working in the music industry as well for a little bit, just on the tech side, like sending stuff, sorting out like the deliveries to Spotify and things like that. And I ended up doing editing, like jumping into editing as a full-time career towards the end of that, when that kind of petered off. And I randomly got like someone found me on Mandy and asked me to edit their feature film, which was Bijan Tong. And
Yes.
so I edited his first feature, the Escort.
Yeah.
And I just kind of thought, like, I used to make films, or want to make films when I was younger, and me and Neil were still always like writing stuff and throwing ideas around, but it was always just kind of still stuff that we just did together, and wasn't ever going to go to a wider audience. And that Bijan's like feature just changed that and lit a fire in me a little bit. And I heard him on this podcast, Filmmakers Podcast, and that's when I first got into the Filmmakers Podcast off of that, and just delved into all of those that you had available then, and I was like, this actually could be possible. And so it started off with the short, and the idea behind that was just like, well, what Bijan did was he had it all kind of set in one. Well, it was all just set in one flat, the entire film. And so we just started kind of with that idea of like, what can we do that's kind of kept to one location, a minimal amount of characters. And Neil had this idea of a family who were on their way to a funeral, and they crash, and then they have some sort of fight over whatever. And it was a good idea, and it was like short, and like the catch was that the character was attached to the car the entire time by her intestines. So very much a horror, very much a comedy horror.
Yep.
But it just felt a bit dark to begin with when we were set up as a family. It was a daughter and her stepbrother and her stepfather, and it just didn't have the lightness there. And we just came up with the idea that to make it a rock band instead, going on to the funeral of their lead singer, and then they fight over who now has the ownership of the band. And straight away that opened up this like more comedic side and lightness to it. And so we made that. That was called Everything Is Going to Be Fine.
That's when I got in. I heard about, whether it was you, Neil, who reached out to me. I just can't remember, but I do remember you reaching out at some point and saying, "Hey, I've got this short, or I've got something to do with it." Maybe you know more than me, but I do remember this short and hearing about it. Maybe it was a crowdfunder, but yes, there's definitely a recollection of you reaching.
Yeah, I mean, so we took that to the festival circuit and really enjoyed it, and like it just gave me the bug. Like I was just like, I've made this now. I really enjoyed the entire process. The crew were great, the cast were great. It was so much fun. And so I just said to Neil, like, is there a way that we could take what we already have? Because we've got, we cut it down to a 15-minute version, but like our original first cut was 23 minutes,
right?
Which Bloody Disgusting took and put in their Bloody Bites. So that like constantly plays on their streaming service in America. And
on that, just quickly, do you think it's better to have the short? Are you glad now that you cut down a 15-minute version rather than have it at 23?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 100%. For sure, shorter is better. You just got to like think. It's horrible to say, like, a bit of a numbers game, really. Like for programming for like a festival, think of it from their point of view. Like, are you going to take a 23-minute film, or are you going to take 4 5-minute films, or 2 10-minute films? Straight away, you've got a wider audience for them.
Yes.
So, I would definitely do that. And even like when you get to the feature as well, like, keep it as short and snappy as possible, really.
Yep.
I think it's key.
I totally agree. So now you've got your short, Everything's Going to Be Fine, and it's doing really well in festivals. It's been picked up, it's been shown, and at that point you're going, well, we did that, why can't we make a feature? Is that kind of your thought process?
Yeah, that was kind of Mitch's suggestion, and was like, we got to find a way of like, giving this a further life, and was like, we've got these characters, we could call these actors back potentially, and get them to do like more. And for a while I shut him down and was like, no, there's nothing we can do. Let's do something else. Let's do like an anthology. Let's do an anthology film. Let's package it, with some other stories. And we kind of went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then eventually I was like, I guess we could do sort of like an anthology about the band. And that way we kind of like follow their kind of like rise and fall, sort of, tell little kind of exciting, chaotic moments in their career where kind of like they're at one location, something crazy happens, someone gets horribly injured, we get some horrible gore to get people excited, we get some funny laughs, and then we cut and we move on to the next story and we tell another kind of great story. So yeah, that's how the film got made. And the initial idea was we were going to reuse the short film. We were going to put the short film in it, and we'd tell like a series of stories up to that short film and maybe beyond it as well, which was a really tough thing to do. But yeah, so that was kind of the idea, and that's how we wrote it. We kind of split the stories up. We came up with just kind of like it's kind of self-contained ideas where kind of you'd play out a short story that would have a beginning, middle, and end, but also kind of tease where it's going to go. So in a sense, you're sort of like, this was not a traditional kind of structured narrative really at all. But the idea was every 15 minutes, you're giving the audience kind of like, there's your story. There's a fun story. Right, now we're moving on. You remember what happened in that story? Now it's going to lead on to this story. So it's kind of like keeping the momentum going, because so many kind of, low budget films or films where they're shot in like a single location, they can be, kind of a little bit, slow and, but this is a comedy. So we wanted to keep it kind of fast paced. So that's how we structured it.
Excellent. And at that point, did you know how you're going to finance it? Did you know how you're even going to think about making this as a feature?
No, not really. I mean, we were kind of learning as we were going. Like, we obviously had an idea of how much the short cost us. And we just kind of thought bigger on from that.
And how much did the short cost, if you don't mind?
The short was 2K.
2K. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's very
and that
impressive.
was just like 3 days of filming in the woods and 1 day of like shooting in a recording studio. So yeah,
right.
Nice and quick.
Nice and quick. But there's lots of amazing gore in that film. I remember it's like you said, similar cast you've got in the feature with Luke DeBelder, and you've got Fran McAteer and Imogen Wilde. And I just remember seeing that short and going, oh, that was really well made. It was really well done. And it was like, oh, that's interesting, which must have obviously got you some attention. But at the same time, attention doesn't give you any money or doesn't help you make your feature. So what did you do?
So we got some private financing, but we also did crowdfunder. And yes, the short doesn't give you money, but it gives you something to show. And like Neil said, with our 70-minute horror that we made as teenagers, that wasn't something that we wanted to show, but now we had something that we felt that we could. And that made the difference, because it brought on people. It first of all showed what we were kind of aiming towards, because although we ended up refilming the short, it showed people what we were going for and what we could do. So it wasn't just like a big question mark. People knew what we could achieve, and that brought them on. And it's the reason we got Lauren involved, to be honest. So Lauren was doing a play with Luke, and he showed her the short, and we met up. And I don't think we even had the script at that point, but me and Neil had started the conversation about it. And so while we were coming up with the idea, and we had the character of Annie, it just made it so much easier, because we were already writing for the voices of Luke and Imogen and Fran. And then I was like, well, I've always had this idea for Annie, the crazy wannabe fan, and I was just like, oh, I'm just going to write this for Lauren. And that made it so much easier to write with someone's like voice in your head.
Yeah, that must have felt nice for you, Lauren, as well. But at that point, were you going, oh, great, I could come on as producer as well? Or was it very much like, I'm happy to be involved in the film?
Yeah, I mean, as Mitch said, I was doing a play at the White Bear above down in Kennington.
I performed there, in my time.
Sick. I feel like
Classic.
are you even an actor unless you play above the pub at the White Bear? Like,
Yeah.
come on now. It's like a rite of passage, yeah.
It is.
But I absolutely loved it. Luke and I were doing this completely like bonkers, surrealist sort of play. I was in a like little pink wig. It was just amazing. Like, it was so much fun. But yeah, I remember he had to take a couple of days off rehearsal because he was going to do the short. And when I saw it, I remember him saying, do you know what, it's like a kind of, we're all clubbing together, we're all, just putting our all into this. It's not like a money maker thing, but I've just got a feeling it's gonna be really good. And I was like, oh yeah, definitely, like, let me know when it's ready. And then he sent me the link to it, and I was genuinely like blown away. I mean, I am like quite a more alternative actor. I've loved like rock music since I was a kid, and it's kind of, you don't really see that many actors that are into that sort of scene and that world. And it was just kind of so loud, so funny. The characters were all there, the style and the direction and just how it was all put together. I just was genuinely like, this is a bit of me. And I remember Luke, I think you're really going to like this. So I immediately, like, no shame about it, I messaged Mitch and was like, I loved this. I thought this is awesome. Can we chat? Like, I would love to work with you. And lucky for me, Mitch turned around and was just like, yeah, like, let's do a chat. And so I remember we went to a little cafe and had a coffee and just talked about it. And I think, we were both sort of like, why don't we? I remember Mitch being like, I don't really know what to do next with it. I think we were both sort of like, light bulb moment, let's turn it into a feature. I want to know what happens to these characters. I know what that it feels as though we were all left on cliffhangers. So and I kind of, it was during that chat that I thought, if I can help, yes, I'd love to act in it. That wasn't, I just wanted to meet and discuss and chat and talk about like what other fun projects we could potentially team up on, because I loved what Mitch was doing. I loved the story, Mitch and Neil's visions and creations. But I think it was in that initial meeting that we just kind of really like vibed with each other. And it was, I did think there, oh, wait, I know someone who could connect us with this. And that's kind of how I started producing. It was just using my network to sort of bring people in. And then I was like, oh, I guess this is kind of what producing is then. It's sort of it's just putting the right people together who are going to gel and align with the project and the story and the narrative, and who are going to be excited about it. Because let's face it, in indie filmmaking, as we said, like, unfortunately, the budgets aren't really there. We have to do all the groundwork, the legwork. We have to get people as excited about the project as we are. And I feel that's kind of, then I slotted in, it was kind of an accidental producer role, I guess. Because I was so passionate about it, then I just ended up on board helping get the film made. So I've loved it, and now I can't wait to do more.
That was and that's kind of like how the whole film ended up almost being. And like, there was no like come on board as producer. It was just everything kind of snowballed. Like I almost say that I actually actively didn't believe in fate before this film. And then like that, just this whole process just changed my outlook on it, because everything always seemed to kind of lead to the next thing, to the next person who would help you get this, that would then help you get that would then lead you to this. And it just felt so organic. And for better or worse, like, well, definitely for worse in general for the world as a whole, the pandemic like meant that there was people who were like hungry to do stuff. They were more open to just help and get stuff done from the short. And speaking to Lauren and her connections, she came on as the producer there. It helped like introduce us to the next person that we need. And an example of that is JJB, who came on board as casting director. He like was associate casting director and wanted to like step up for the first time. So it was a lot of that as well, finding people who are at the same kind of juncture in their careers where they wanted to make that next leap, and hopefully all like working on it together to do that. And the short just helped that again, because you had that like card to say, oh look, this is what you're signing up for, this is how it's going to be. And thankfully people liked the script, so the script got people excited, like, because it was different, it was out there, we hope. And so we were just really amazed by the like caliber of people that were wanting to be involved. And it just kind of like I said, it snowballed from there and there and there until we had our cast and crew ready.
That's
Yeah,
great.
a lot of people called it like a passion project, which when I first heard that, I'd never really heard that phrase before, and I was just like, oh, that makes it sound like really small, like it's just like something we want to do. But then actually, I've kind of like grown to actually quite like that phrase. Like passion is actually quite important in film, because there's a lot of films being made where it's just the business head and just trying to make money and get the biggest thing out there. But like actually passion is really, really important, and it's a thing which makes you want to help people out with the film.
I love that, Neil. And it's so true, because just people can get jaded in this business quite quickly.
Yeah.
And by having passion or something someone cares about is always easier to get done or work with, because it's just coming from the heart, and it's whether it's more effort, it's more time, energy. But yes, if it's a job for, because they're just getting paid for this one, it's like, okay, cool. Well, I clock off at 6, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
It can be like that. So passion is so important in this business, especially when you're starting off.
And you've got to drive that, haven't you? That's
you have to drive that. Yeah.
And that was like, I'd say a key thing that all three of us would agree on, is that like wherever this project started from, it was, as soon as you were involved in it, it was your project too. And like we just wanted like everyone to like feel like they were being an active part of the team. Everyone could put their hand up and say whatever they wanted to make it better. And I would always say that, like, not the cleverest person in the room, not the smartest person in the room. So if you've got a better idea, I'll take it and we'll run with it.
Well, especially when you're in the trenches and there's all sorts of stuff going on and your head's stuck on something, you do want a great team around you to go, well, actually, why don't we just can't we shoot that? Or what was about this idea? And you suddenly just go, oh my God, that's so much better than I ever thought. And if you're stuck in your ways, you're very much like, how dare you collaborate with me or give me idea? It can really get in the way of a good film. It's like, no, everyone's got great ideas. That's why we're all creative and in this business. So yeah, absolutely. Always open for ideas. You can always say no. That's the thing. You just go, that I love that, but it's not going to work for this because it's fine. You mentioned there about private equity. My audience would kill me if I didn't sort of press you on this, and about the crowdfunder as well. So let's just talk about how you managed to get that money. How much was it? How you went about it with the bank accounts and all that, and then your crowdfunder as well.
Yeah, so we just had like one person who came in to help us like finance the film, and that just all went through the bank, and then we topped that up with doing the crowdfunder, which was its own job in itself. Have you done any crowdfunding at all, Giles? Or?
Yeah, I've done 3 projects where we've crowdfunded, and it's a full time. You have to treat it like you're making the feature itself. Anyone who's done it says the same thing. If you haven't done it, then watch all the videos of those people who have, and you have to plan it. You can't just go, oh, people are going to put money into my film. No, they really don't have to, and they don't need to. You've really got to plan it and do it properly.
And it's amazing how that's still the myth kind of out there. But like, oh, right, made my page.
I've got a great idea. Surely someone's going to put it in. No, they're not, and they don't have to. And you don't expect your friends ever to put anything in either. That's what I learned. No. Yeah, even your besties, they'll go, I'll do that later. They still won't. So don't worry about it.
So that's what I'd say, is that it is a job. So you have to have everything prepared. And so like I said, my day job is I'm an editor. And so we had like and Neil does a bit of graphic design and stuff. So we had like everything that we needed to make a good looking campaign. We had it all ready to go before we even started talking about it. And then, it's not just like make the page and send people a link, or even not do that. It's, some people just think they've got the page up, now in comes the money. I went through all my close friends. I went through all my family, individual messages to them to make sure it was on their radar.
And that's hard. It's hard, Mitch. It's suddenly you literally got your hand out. And I don't mind it when people do it to me. I have no problem. But when you're doing it yourself, there's something in it that you just feel really awkward. Family members you might not have spoken to for a while. Friends you've not spoken to. Hey, I'm trying to raise money for a film. Give me some money. Yeah. Oh, God, it feels really bad. But no one minds. This is what I learned. No. Yeah. You've just got to bite the bullet, bite your own ego, and just sort of go, yes, I'm doing this. We did it for Food for Thought. It did really well. But we really planned it. Yeah, every week we had a different target audience who we were going for, whether it was animal welfare that week or whether it was vegans that week, or, we really thought about it and we really targeted those audiences and had stuff to do. But if you don't, it can be really tricky. You're literally just sending the same message out. Hey, please invest in my film. And that's not good enough. You've got to go way further and give things, and you've got to really entice them in. But what I found was most people gave on the first day, and then the last day. The last day, we pretty much tripled every other day. The last day.
You need to, that first kind of 3 days, you need to have like, I'm going to say maybe 30%.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're saying. Like
it looks,
reach your target.
Reach your target. Yeah, you don't get through it.
It's got to look like you're gaining momentum. It's got to look like you have to get the money this way. Because a lot of people will say, well, why aren't you going this other route? Or why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You have to make yourself stand out and be different. Like when we did our pitch video, I was like, hey, Mitch, we should all just have like blood running down our faces. That way, like when we post a thumbnail on social media, people will see us with blood running down our faces and be like, oh, what's that? And then they'll click the video and be like, oh, you're doing a video. Oh, okay, film, cool.
Yeah, and it was in the same tone of the film as well. I recently rewatched it, and it's like, it's just as ridiculous as the film. So it's it's set up perfectly.
You have to, and I think that's a great way to do it. I've seen quite a lot where someone just sits there and goes, "Hi, you should invest in my film because," and you're like, why should I? That's terrible. If you can't even shoot something that's interesting or enticing me, why would I bother? So yeah, especially if you don't know them, and if you want people, what I found as well, maybe you got the same with so many people I didn't know who they were. Would invest or put, even if it was a tenner, 15 quid, whatever. You're like, I have no idea who you are. That's so kind. But that comes from the topic or what the video says or whether they like you. And you've really got to do that.
And like you said, it's a roller coaster of what's happening as well. Like like you said, I reached out to like my old boss from my music days, and I was like, oh, this guy, he's really high up, he's loaded. Like we always felt like we got on, and it's just tumbleweed. And then like another day, I was like a friend of a friend who know socially, but I always thought, not really a big fan of me. And then like he went and put in like $1,000. And so it's like, you really can't tell what's going to happen. And so you just got to keep on at it. It is like a war of attrition, but
Lauren, you were going to say?
Oh yeah, I was two things that just came to mind. I think obviously, the producer and the behind the scenes team all clubbed together, but it really did turn into everyone that was on board the project at that point, including the cast. It's a real solid team effort. Everyone really does have to be fully invested, because then just the wider the network. 6 degrees of separation. Someone knows someone who knows someone, like using everyone's kind of pool of people, and that kind of put us in a good place. But also on the pitch video, I just remember it so well because we all sort of the cast that were confirmed in it, we all like really lent into our characters, and so I think having an element of, if you can sort of use a bit of character work to add to the pitch video. Like I remember I wore like a leopard print bright pink tops covered in blood. It was like very Annie, so it was kind of just color was a key part of this film, and just the vibrancy of it, and I think leaning into a bit of that, and like Mitch, your t-shirt in it as well, like just so funny things like that. I think it really gave it a bit of individuality, personality, and as Neil was saying, just made it a bit more, just kind of set it apart from other pitch videos. And I think that's definitely something that we reap the benefits of, and we'll aim to do again when we if we're going down that route for another project.
And Greenlit, they said like that they used our page and our campaign as like, they'd just send it on to people, say like, just do it like this. So that was a nice like thumbs up at the end.
That's so nice of them. So how much did you manage? Because Greenlit are amazing. Pete and the gang there at Greenlit are a really good place. They'll teach you how to do it properly, and with a crowdfunder. How much did you manage to raise in the end? I can't remember, but it was.
I think it was like 11K.
11K. That's really impressive for it is when it doesn't seem a lot to make a feature, but it is for a crowdfunder to raise anything above 10K is really, really tricky. So 11K is great. So at that point, did you have enough to make the film, especially with the private equity investor as well? Or was it a case of, right, we've got that, we can probably make it for this? Should we have a look at, or was it a case of, let's get to post? What was your thought process at that point?
So the thing about post was I knew that I was going to edit it. So
save some money.
Huge saving there. I had lots of favors to pull in the post world as well, just because it's how you get your other jobs. I work with colorists who I've got work, and soundies as mixers and stuff who've got work. So I knew that the post was going to be that was where I knew the most. So that was always kind of like, I can deal with that, getting to that. The money was always going to be just to be put on screen as much as possible. But to say that like we had like a proper outline budget would be an outright lie, I'd say. But you know, I learned a lot from doing that now. But so I mean, the first thing we did is we were looking into. This was back in the writing, really. When we were writing it, we had in mind locations. So we knew that we had a location for like 2 of the tracks straight away, just from friends and family. Other places we I think we got one for just like a crate of beer that we gave someone. We had a local like recording studio and like band practice room that like were like obviously really aligned with the tone of the film. So they like gave us like it pretty much for free. So we kind of wrote the film to be cheap in that respect.
Yes.
And then for props and everything, we just started buying what we needed as soon as we had that like first amount come in. And then the private financer that we had was kind of like happy to top it up as we needed. So it was a very like fluid discussion of like, because we're not talking like, you know, millions here. So it wasn't like they were going to have to like get lots of money for us to go on, but it was a backwards and forwards discussion of like, right, okay, we've done these number of scenes now, what do we need? And that was the other like positive of the structure of the film, in that like rather than being a feature as such, we could break it down into 6 short films as how we were approaching it. And the naive me at the beginning of this was like, oh, this is going to be great, like we'll film, and we called them tracks because of the album vibe. And so now I've got just stuck in my head forever that whenever I'm talking about sections of a film, I call it a track, which is not helpful. It's the way
at least our audience know now what you mean.
But so I had this idea of like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to film track 1, and then like while we're getting ready for track 2, I'm going to edit that, and then but it just never happened because like the planning of the next one just like took on this whole like other beast, and so it just the editing didn't unfortunately happen more until it got the entire thing wrapped. But we were always trying to think like, how can we keep the costs down? And so we bought all the props that we needed as soon as we could. The locations were as cheap as possible. And it kind of just went that way. When we needed to get a bit more, like we generally had these break points anyway, where you know, actors sometimes had other jobs that they took on, or myself or Neil had to like take a month to like, you know, do our day jobs and then come back to the film.
That's a really interesting way of making a movie, because that way you're not all, you know, engrossed in it for 2-3 months when now you've got no money at the end of it. You can't afford to do the post. This way you're kind of like, hey, let's do section 1 or track 1 here, and then go, oh, all right, well, let's look at that. Or we can do track 2 now, section 2. Then we can now go, because someone's away. I think that's a really good way of doing it, especially when, you know, no one's really getting paid for this. I can't imagine anyone was. So you're doing this out the love of your hearts. You're doing this because you want to and you care about it. And that, therefore, this is a much better way to make a film this way. In terms of kit-wise and lights and stuff like that, because sometimes you don't have everything. Maybe you did. I can't remember. But you've got higher stuff, or you've got to bring it in. So these are maybe where your costs lie, or there's an extra stunt here where you need I know, prosthetics, or you need, you know, extra blood, or you need an extra costume, because you know, that's always a worry, isn't it, when you're getting blood on something? How do we double up the costume? And here, like Lauren said as well, you've got everything's color coded. Everyone's very specific with their colors and the cast. So how did you go about that then, in terms of when you went, okay, I want to do this? Did you always have, was that the plan to sort of go, hey, we can hire it from this place and do us a favor?
So we were very lucky. Our DOP, Alex Birogel, had all the kit that we really needed. I had also, from a friend who'd moved from London to New York, he left me a load of kit as well, because he couldn't take it with him. So I had lots of radio mics and stuff that like I could use. A snorri cam, which was amazing. We made use of in our like acid trip sequence. So it was really just kind of leaning into what we had. And yeah, Alex said straight away, you know, he could picture a lot of this being done on on Steadicam. He knew a Steadicam operator who was like just willing to jump on board as well. So
That's amazing. Wow.
We didn't really have to pay for too much kit in that respect. Yeah, so very, very fortunate in that, really.
Yeah, you say fortunate. I also think that's a case of you being nice people and people wanting to do you favors, right? Or leaving stuff to you. No one does that unless they want to. You know, no one wants to help your films and help you if you're a dickhead or horrible. People just go, nah. This industry's full of them. So therefore it's when someone's nice or cares, which is why Lauren as well jumped on and you guys all work together so well, is the fact that you're going, actually, I like these people and I want to do it. At any point you could have all gone, no, hang on, this person's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that just isn't, I really liked it when, well, not really liked it, but I liked the fact that people said, were surprised that I wasn't being a dick as the director and stuff. And it's like, how can you be when it's like, when you're doing it at this level, you know?
Yes.
I've no like qualms of like what my standing in this industry. And so like, you know, I wanted everyone to have a good time and be part of it. I mean, the film's fun. Like we should be having fun while we're making it. Otherwise, you know, kind of what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, it's, I think again, it comes back to that, like just letting people have that creative freedom to put in what they want out of it as well.
Yes.
So that they can get that, you know, if, you know, you're bringing on a makeup artist who wants to do more gore, then that's great. Then it's like, oh, well, what would you really like to do? And like, how can we make this work so that it's great for you too? That was always like our MO really, to like, to make sure that everyone was actively involved. It baffles me that like you could be like a first-time director trying to make a shoestring feature and be a dick, because people just would stop turning up. You'd
be surprised, but yes, there really are, and it's quite amazing how these people can then have careers. I don't really get it when you know you're horrible. The film has to do really well, etc. But yeah, this industry should not be, but unfortunately, it attracts that kind of a person sometimes. But yeah, you have to be nice and willing to work together, especially when people are doing stuff for nothing for you. I still find it amazing that anyone could be like that. Neil, for your side then, producing, you know, all that, which is really tricky, and you, Lauren, as well, but you're in it as, you know, so you're all kind of working together on that side. But Neil is the sole sort of non-acting or, you know, you work a little bit, and Mitch directing. From your side then, how are you sort of, you know, keeping everything floating? How are you keeping everything balanced during that time to go, yeah, that sounds great, however?
To some extent, but my role is kind of Mitch's wingman and his kind of sounding board and frustration board and, you know, stuff like that. Because obviously he had put like a ton on his shoulders. You know, he's not only co-writing the film with me, he's also directing it, which, you know, takes a hell of a lot out of you, and then also editing it as well. And they often say like the three people who write a film are: the writer does the blueprint, so the director then takes that blueprint and turns it into a film, the editor then, you know, shapes the thing into it. So there were a lot of times where like Mitch had like shot stuff and was like, I don't know if this is working. Like you can get sort of like lost by being that heavily involved in something. So a lot of the time I wasn't on set, and I hadn't seen how long it had taken to get like some of these shots. You know, there was like one bit in the film where I was like, I'm really sorry, Mitch, we need to do like a tiny reshoot. I know it's going to be a huge kind of like extra bit of scheduling, and we're going to have to get the cast back, and we're going to have to put them in the right costumes again. But like, we need to reshoot this. And there are other times where Mitch is like, this isn't working. And I'm like, Mitch, what are you on about? This is great. This is working. So yeah, that's sort of my kind of remote kind of producing role. And often like a lot of the stuff I'm doing is Mitch is like, damn man, we need something to go up on Instagram. We need to do this. We need a prop. We need to dye this costume. We need to, you know, we've got this band's room. We've got to fill it with music posters. Can you just like knock some stuff up? Because I don't want to have to like ask permission for like too many people, because it's extra work. It's extra baggage. You know, there's so much to do on this movie, and eventually it just sort of spills out. There's a safety in just keeping it all to yourself. I'll do this, but it has to eventually go out to other people. So that's. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah, so
producer.
Neil was like a satellite producer because he wasn't on that much because he was up in Coventry while we were filming everything down in London and everything.
Right.
And like we say, this this is around our like proper jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Neil was like I don't know, he's like an AI assistant before they existed. Really, in a way.
I remember one thing where we had the band. So there's one track in the film where the band are having like a photo shoot. And we were like, oh, while we're here, we should actually get like photo shots of them.
Yeah.
And then what we needed was a kind of the next day or like a few days later, we needed like a magazine mocked up with kind of all the band. So Mitch was like taking these photos, or no, someone else was taking these photos, sending them to me. I was editing them into like a magazine cover, sending it off to get printed, to get sent to where we were going to shoot the scene with the magazine. Yeah. Just crazy.
It's crazy what you do, isn't it, on a film set? What in terms of the day-to-day stuff? Because it's all the organisation of getting people there, getting some food there, making sure everything's starting at the right time, making sure you're on schedule, all that kind of stuff. How were you all doing that together as a team, especially when you're all kind of in different places as well?
So the planning was. I actually quite enjoyed the planning aspect of it, like that. I quite like, the editor's in mind of me. I like solving a puzzle, and so like figuring out the best way to shoot it. Like you said, like when blood's involved, you need to make sure you've got all that stuff done before you're going to start ruining them all. Obviously, anything that was going to have blood on it, we had several versions of it. But yeah, that scheduling bit was fun to get all figured out. We also had a great first AD, Taylor Small. He was so great, and again, like that, just really nice person. So like but like he could get everyone whipped up and ready to where they needed to be when stuff needed to happen. Because this was my first feature, I'd done just a short before, aside from the stuff that me and Neil had done when we were younger. It was he'd been on a few more sets, and so he was really just good at making sure that we were staying on track. And I think we just having it in blocks again helped, so we could plan out just like one section. But yeah, I don't know. We'll let the other guys speak to what they thought of that as well.
Lauren, what's your take on that?
It's so nice just sitting and reminiscing back. My favourite part of making it was when we were in Mitch's garage and we shot like one of the tracks down in Mitch's garage, and it was we had Mitch's mum on catering duties, and it's the best food I've ever had in my life. It was
the rest of the catering was appalling. From what I've heard. But that one bit of filming was good.
That one bit.
We were like, there were dogs on set as well in the green room. We had dogs around, so it was honestly just a dream. We had so much fun.
That's great, and it comes across in the film as well. It really does. Everyone does seem like they're having a good time, and they're there because they want to be there, and they're really working hard. Once when things went wrong, it's always good for our filmmakers. It's great when everything goes right, of course, but our filmmakers want to go, that sounds all wonderful. You had a great time, brilliant, good for you. But they kind of want to know when it goes wrong, what you did about turning it right. How did you fix the issues that happen on set, like a costume not being there, or a location falling through as you're arriving, things like that. What was it for you guys that the issues were that you then managed to overcome?
There was a few, as there always are. Yes, we lost a location because of the person who was giving us the location got COVID, so we had to push it back. But that was just it's getting back into the calendars and emailing everyone and say when you're available, like let's get this reorganized. So
so you'd cancel the shoot if you lost the location. You'd be like, right, we can't do it.
Well, that was thankfully the only one that happened that way.
Okay.
I mean, there was lots of gambles with like that. Like the place, the photo shoot studio was the location that we paid the most for, and that was, I remember that being a scheduling absolute nightmare. Just because we needed to, we couldn't go back, so it was just once and done. And someone got, I think a friend, one of the main stars partners got COVID, and so it was touch and go for a while whether we were going to do that, and that was tricky. But thankfully that one worked out all right. They got the all clear in time and everything. So those were some stressful things. But also, like you said, we're doing a lot of this. We were doing we were asking for favors, people doing it for free. We had a makeup artist cancel at 11 p.m. the night before. And so like we thankfully had one person come in, but Neil was on it then, like from remotely, like trying to find someone else to cover the next 3 days. That was pretty stressful. But that was like when the kind of towards the earlier of the shoot, like where we were still finding our film family, I guess, in that because we were doing in these blocks. It started off that everyone had all this free time because the industry had slowed down a bit. Then it started opening up a bit, and some of our like camera assistants started off. This was like their first thing. And then it started getting all lively again. And now they were like going over to Netflix. Now I can't like offer more than Netflix. So like we're having to like rejuggle all of that and everything. That was the most stressful thing. I mean, one other bit that really stood out was when we were refilming the short, because it involves a car that we then destroy. We were getting like an old banger, but this one was particularly an old banger. And during the first take, I think the exhaust like just fell off and started scraping along the bottom. Like I was like, let's watch this back just to make sure it's okay. And they're like, yeah, it was a little bit loud. Played it back. It was just like you could not hear anything. But thankfully our AC that day was this guy called Charlie Brunskill, who's ex-army. And so he just straight away just got within minutes, had it up on a jack and just I think he gaffer taped it back together.
It won't last long.
Yeah, these army types, so resourceful.
Yeah, I've got brilliant. Yeah, I've got one just worked on sessions with us, and he's worked on 3 of the films. Errol Jark, his art department, and he's just an art director, really, and a production designer, brilliant one. And yeah, they're the kind of people you want around you who can just go, no problem. They just work it, and they go, it's fixed. And you go, oh my God, thank you so much. You need those people on set. You need those people who are handy. Yeah. What about your recollections of that, Lauren, as well? Can you remember things that you just kind of went, oh, that was a challenge, or even things went well?
I think there was a moment where like I didn't have a backup costume, did I? And there was like a moment where we had to do some blood spattering, and it was like no pressure, but we kind of have to get this first and only take, and there's no other opportunities to do this again because we were all there in one location. Was it? I don't even think we ordered it, or maybe I hadn't arrived. I don't know. I can't remember. It was just like that was just a bit stressful, but I think we got it. We got it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I love that. Do you know what? It's sometimes interesting when you have that one take. You know you've only got one on it. Okay, cool. Everyone, please, everyone's focus it like zeroes in, and everyone goes, right, let's get this right. And you get it. You get something. Yeah, and if it goes terribly wrong, you're like, okay, well, we can probably do a different angle. Maybe we'll be able to fudge the beginning. There's no blood, wipe a bit off. Do you know what I mean? It's like there is ways around it, but when the pressure's on, everyone steps up. You know, it's filming.
It is, and that's when it shines. Like I love some of my favorite moments are when like things change from what they were originally going to be because someone else threw a different idea in. And you just go, yeah, let's do that. That's a much better way of doing it, like you said earlier. And I love the collaborative like nature of it all, and how it is like you're in the trenches together, and like we just got to get through this. But like, you know, it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be fun at the same time, but it is. You are just constantly thinking, and I think many people said this. It's like it's about sticking to a plan, but also being flexible. You have a blueprint, doesn't mean you're going to follow it, but you have to just like let whatever happens happen. And I was sort of surprised when like Imogen at one point said to me like she was surprised that I was staying so calm when I didn't feel calm at all, and everything was like going like, you know, you're running out of time. You've only got these people for a certain time because, you know, they've got other things they need to get to, and you're relying on the kindness of their hearts and their favors. So, but I'm glad that I was at least exuding calm because I felt very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, people say it to me as well, but really, it's like we're like swans. On the outside, we're going, gliding through, going, yes, let's do that. Okay, don't worry, we'll do that. Underneath, our legs are flapping away, and we go, I don't know what to do. But that's when you have good people around you to help and support and go, how about this? How about that? And you go, it's a good idea. Because it doesn't matter what your blueprint's right. It doesn't matter how long you've planned it. And you get there and you go, well, the sun's totally in the wrong place, or that tree's fallen now, so we can't shoot that way. Car doesn't work. Okay, we've got to rethink this whole thing. And that's when you become, I feel, the best director you become, or the best person on set you become, actor or producer, because you have to think outside the box and go, okay, how do we make this the best it can be? And the way to do that is to go, what's the best thing I can shoot right now? What
Yeah.
will look the best in this moment? And your first instinct is usually always right. It's just like when you're writing, it just comes out, doesn't it? It's
Yeah, it does. It does.
magic.
And it is also having that team around you, like you say,
Yeah.
the people that you can trust. And the story I always like to talk about for this is with our makeup department, where I was like trying to think of the band's look and everything. This is back in the short, actually. And I was like, oh, I think it could be like this, but like that. But, I don't do any makeup, so I'm not sure. Maybe they should be a bit Kiss-like and stuff.
Yeah.
And she just stopped me and said, like, well, Mitch, that's my problem now. So you can she just took that away from you and was like, I will, go off and do what is essentially my job and like show you ideas and you don't have to worry about it anymore other than is it in the right direction of where we want to go with it? And
Yeah.
I think it's just finding people like that who are just, they can help you get where you want to get to because they know everything about their part of the job.
That's absolutely right. But it's so hard, I feel sometimes, especially when you come from making things by yourself, which you've all done, and I did too. And suddenly when you get on a set where there's other people that's their job, you kind of forget because you're so used to doing it and you're so used to going, oh, right, we've just made a mess of this garden. Instead of going on to the next shot, I now need to pick up everything from this garden and do it. And there's people going, no. You don't do that. You now need to go on and direct the next scene. You're like, yeah, but who's going to tidy up this? There's people to do that. It's so hard to do because you're so concentrated. And obviously you still do that as well. But yeah, it's quite, when you come from, you're doing everything yourself, the DIY filmmaker, it's hard to get out of that, which I think is a good thing. I think that can only help, but it's better than being on the other side where you're going to expect everything to do things for you. Let's talk about post then. Let's talk about, obviously, you edited it yourself. You got a lot of favours in terms of the colourists and getting through it. At this point, are you thinking about distribution and sales? Were you already doing that beforehand? I know we talked about that, Mitch, as well on the phone, but it'd be really interesting to know from your side what you were thinking at this point, and Neil and Lauren, why where you thought this could go, how you thought you could get sales. When did it really sort of kick in to go, because I know you had still the scenes to shoot. You still hadn't cast one of the main roles. And you knew you could shoot that in a separate block. But during that edit, were you thinking, or as we should say, were you thinking about how you could get this film out there into the world?
We knew some festivals that would be interested in it in respect of like where we were going to premiere this and stuff because people enjoyed the short, everything. But we weren't really thinking of where it would go because, again, knowing my standing in this industry, I felt like until we had the complete product, there was no point starting to reach out to people. It wasn't like, this was a known film that people were like looking forward to seeing or anything. It was just, completely on spec and just like, being made by brute force, just because we really wanted to will it into existence. So that wasn't really crossing our minds other than let's just make the best film that we can make and then start shipping out a trailer and going to festivals to see how it's received and go from there. I felt like we needed to build up the momentum of it actually existing before reaching out to distribution and sales agents while we were editing it. Also, it comes down to the fact that I knew how to make a film up to the point of it's edited and it's graded and it's finished. And then I hand it over to the director and they go and deal with all that side of things. So once we finished editing it, that was when it was the real learning experience kind of started. Because it was just complete open water.
Yeah. Neil, and Lauren, at this point, what's your thinking?
I would say in each kind of process of the film, the pre-production, the production, the post-production, the distribution, we were only looking ahead at that section. So at the pre-production, we were just trying to get it ready. We weren't necessarily planning for the next bit. A lot of it was kind of new. Obviously, we'd done this short, so we knew kind of vaguely how to do the pre-production, how to do the production. But it was on a much bigger scale. And certainly the edit, we were way more focused on let's just get this edited. Let's just get it looking good, sounding good. And let's worry about the next bit down the line, which is just like it was our first film, so like there was obviously going to have to be, and we're doing this around like, you know, day jobs and things, so there was obviously things that we were going to have to just push back and figure out at a later point. I would say probably when we make our next film, we will be thinking about these kind of things much earlier. But
Yeah, it is interesting because it does, because a lot of people say, no, you should think about it when you're writing it, you should think about it before you go into production. But actually, I'm two sides on that. I do think you should think about it, but there's another point of view goes, yeah, but let's finish it. We don't know what we've got. We don't know what we're giving to anyone. Like you say, there's no stars in it, certainly at that point, you could go, right, you know, here's the film, everyone's going, we're clamoring to see it. It's kind of a case of, we've got some amazing actors in this, but that doesn't get anyone knocking on your door. That, you know, it just gets people going, okay, cool, when you finished it, show me it. So yeah, that's why there's two sides to that. But you knew, you know, that it's a horror film, you knew that it's got gore elements, so you knew who you could target. Yes. And Lauren, this is where you came in as well. You're talking about Cannes and who you met and how that process unfolded. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't have a bloody clue about any of this. I was like, right, I'm just going to hold my hands up. I think I'm not going to pretend to know everything here. And I'm so up for learning. But and one of my skill set, again, the things that I was, you know, the thing that I feel that I brought to this group dynamic is just a vast, because I've worked in lots of different areas of the entertainment industry. I've got a good network of people. So I was like, right, I don't know anything about this. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about this, but let me see who in my network does. So I think it was just a case of like asking questions, asking for like, you know, just a 10 minutes of someone's time. Like, hey, we're up to this point. Do you have any ideas or any advice or anything? And that's actually when so meeting Johnny was a godsend at Cannes, and again, just a prime example of, you know, going somewhere with zero expectation. I think we bonded over we went to a rock bar or a karaoke place, and we did Limp Bizkit karaoke in the South.
Perfect.
We did Rollin'. It was spectacular, and we've been like solid friends ever since. It was just, you know, and I had absolutely zero expectation or whatever that this dude was gonna, you know, become a really good friend of mine and effectively help me get my first feature deal over the line. So yeah, I think it's just kind of, if this is an area that you're not familiar with, same with a friend of mine, Mark Price, who directed who's directed loads of really cool
Colin and loads of brilliant
incredible stuff. I just, you know, hit him, you know, we worked together on something years and years ago, and I knew that he had great experience in actually, you know, he's not all talk. He gets stuff done. He gets it made. And so I think it's kind of reaching out to people in your network. So then I kind of was like, oh, hey, Mitch, Neil, like we should talk to this person or we should talk to that person. They've kind of done stuff in a similar space. So it's like, at that stage, I was like identifying what the market is, what genre it is, who this is really going to appeal to, and then kind of finding the right distributors, the right sales agents, the right teams who we can like spark a dialogue with to get it there. But yeah, as a producer, producer actor, I had no bloody clue or, you know, about any of this. So it has been a real baptism of fire.
Yeah, it is that community. It's that people you meet. So like, yes, when we were editing it, we weren't thinking about that. But once the film existed, and obviously we can talk about how we got Simon Callow involved and everything as well. But like once we were on the festival circuit and, you know, you're playing with the same films and stuff, you start to know other directors who may be on their second or third film, and they are your, you know, they are your team as well. They are like the people who help you. They like, I met so many great people on the circuit who were like, oh, well, when you get a contract, send it over my way and I'll let you know if it's any good, or avoid this person, or like you should check out this person because they're all right, or like, you know, your film similar to our film, so you should definitely check out talking to these people. And it just makes a huge difference, like to talk to people who are on that same journey as you, because like making these films, you know, for this level of budget and stuff, it can feel very lonely in that, you know, because you're just stuck in your own bubble of what you're doing with it. And to hear other people's, like, you can bond over horror stories basically, like what you've gone through, and like you know, people who have been in your position before are your greatest like asset, because they don't want you to go through what they've gone through. I've met people who are like, oh, I'm on my third film. I've only just got my first film back from the distributors. You've done nothing with it. Don't do the same. They're the people you need to talk to because they've been through it.
Yeah.
Go to
so
these,
honest.
go to these independent film festivals, because the directors will come often to see their own film, and they will be there at the pub or the club after, and they will want to talk to you. They want to share these experiences, because you don't even have to be making a film. You can just reach out to people and just say, hey, a DM on Instagram or something. Some people will ignore you, but there'll be at least a few who will reach out to you and go, do you know what? Hey, I'll give you a little bit of advice.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And actually going to those places, meeting those people, for one, is just brilliant, because you get to see what other people are making in the space and why they got into festivals, but also because they can become your friends, your allies, your confidants. So when you're next in Cannes or whatever, you connect again, and this business is all about knowing people in the business who can help you get things made. But if they not necessarily help you get things made, but give you the advice, or you give them advice. It's a wonderful community, and we all do help each other. I get phone calls all the time saying, what were they like? What are they? Should I work with that person, this person? And if they're not cool, you'd literally say, I wouldn't, to be honest. And it's such a small business. People forget these people who are dicks. You're like, no, don't work with them. It's not worth it. It isn't worth it. It's not. If they're promising you all this money, no, never turn up. The money won't turn up. And it's easy to do, and it is a small business. We did have it. You mentioned Simon Callow there. In terms of having him on board, I take it that made a difference in terms of distribution and sales, and felt that you had more confidence to go in with a name like that.
Putting like a business head on. Mitch was like, hey, this was back when we were writing the script. Hey, what do you think about like getting like a really big name actor, biggest we can get? And we'll have something short. They can just come in, do a day, boom, they're gone. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. But like, if they're just like a little scene or something, then we're not going to see much of them. So we had this idea, like the film was already broken up into these 6 bits, and we'd already decided on the title Murder Ballads, how to make it in rock and roll. So I was just like, why don't we have, this actor come in and play an aging rock star, retired rock star, who's giving advice, and then boom, he turns up minute 1, he turns up at minute 15, he turns up at minute 30, 45, he turns up at all these moments, so it feels like he is a huge part of the film. And that's where we went with that kind of role. Mitch, you want to pick up from there?
So that was always the idea, and then we edited the entire film, or most of the film, like definitely our first like rough cut, before we thought about approaching someone, and edited a trailer just for that specific character. So that the trailer was heavily focusing on the character of Richard O'Keefe. We drew up a list of like who we would really like to be in this character, and Simon was right at the top. And so we reached out onto his website, and on his website, unfortunately, it's his literary agent. But I didn't know that at the time, so I just emailed them. But thankfully, they passed it on to his acting agent, and like the same day, he got back to us saying, yes, he'll do it. And then it was just a case of just organizing it. And I think it was the fact that it was something really different for him. He said that himself many times now, that it was just something that he's never done before. So I think that's a good like way to if you can work into your script. Obviously, you don't want to just shoehorn it in for no reason, but if you can find these characters where maybe they're not like that needed for the entire scene, or you can get them for like 2-3 days, but it's something really different that you can offer someone that they don't get. That's going to pique their interest, and the worst they can do is say no. So and then you can, move on to your next choice. And he's brilliant in it, and everyone's brilliant in it, and it just elevates the film to be what it is. Murder Ballads is just really cool and fun and interesting, and he's exactly that in the movie. It fits perfectly. It couldn't be better, could it? In terms of the choice, the classy actor, but it just fits. It's like, you couldn't have got, it does feel that way, doesn't it? It was like, it doesn't feel like out of place. It just feels like he's totally in
he was shot at the same time, and everyone was chatting, and he's part of it.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I want to have my hair tied back in a ponytail. Like, I want to have some tattoos." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." whatever you
Scottish
want."
accent as well. Yeah. Well, there's an accent anyway. I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When we finished, he was like, "Can you please take some photos of me on my phone so I can send it to my friends?" Stuff. And look, Lauren got us in touch with a PR guy called Tom Dark at Darkside Media, and then Tom got us Simon on like Good Morning Britain on ITV1, which was great. And it became like a mini kind of news story like that day that it was on. Like all these newspapers start picking up like, oh, Simon Keller's playing a rock star and he's never been to a rock concert in his life. So it's a bit of chatter and PR about the movie.
It's like we've said, like, it's a way of like making you legitimate, which is a horrible thing to have to like kind of deal with, but it having a name like that come on board just means that it's one less door to have to knock down, because it's someone recognizable, and you've just got to think of these ways. Like, I mean, I think if like, because Murder Ballads it's got horror elements to it, but like, it's a dark comedy really at its essence, and so horror aside, it's really hard to sell stuff, I think, without a name, and so you just got to if you can find a way to get someone involved, it does help. I mean, it's not the be all and end all, but it can make a big difference.
Well, it elevates the film as well. It does, doesn't it? It just gives it that. Yeah, like you say, if you can get someone like that involved, but as you said, if you just ask, and then Lauren's
the worst
done brilliant.
They can say is no.
Exactly. And Lauren's done brilliant with the PR. Let's just, before we get to the actual film coming out, let's just jump back a tiny bit to the distribution and actual sales and talk us through that process. And because it is a minefield, it is the worst part, I think, for filmmakers who are new to the industry. Just when you go, hey, I've made my film, and gone through that heartache and the pain and the difficulty of editing it and putting it together and doing all the sound mix and everything. Suddenly you've got your film, or even just before that, and you're like, right, I've got to sell this, and then people don't return your calls, or they say it's not for them, and it can be really disheartening. So when someone does come and show some interest, you go, oh my god, and then you're not ready to see what that contract says, because you're so taken up in someone wants my film, and they released this film which had Bruce Willis in it or so and so in it, and you just get lost in the hype, and you miss the actual important things which are in the contract, which is the things that a lot of filmmakers fall down on, and they never see a penny again. It's just clever business from these people. I don't know why a lot of them do it, but they do. But it is business at the end of the day, and we need to be clever as filmmakers to understand the business, to go, okay, how not to get ripped off, or to learn from other filmmakers who, like you said at that festival, said, don't go with them, make sure you check the contract, I'll look at it for you. So what did you do to get your distributors on board and your sales team forward? Again, you sent it to them, but how was that whole process with doing contracts and making sure the negotiations were done in the right way?
I mean, you covered quite a bit of it. A lot of it is relying on people who've been through this before, and just doing your research. I mean, there's tons of like things out there you can read into. There's great Facebook groups and stuff that you can join that can show you which people not to go with, or what experiences they've had with people. And then it is, again, it can be a bit of like who like we had some of the ones that we were considering were from people who we'd met at festivals, because they had their representatives there and they liked the film. So straight away, they're there because they have had a history maybe with this festival, so you can talk to them and meet them in person. That always made a big difference. We also found there were a lot of people who reached out to us after festivals. Certain festivals, we had certain companies approaching us, and when we put our film on the British Film Council, loads of people started reaching out to us. That's when we had a sales agent contact us, who we went with for a bit, but ended out not working out in the way that we wanted to. Just it is just trying to make sure that you're not being taken for a ride as well. It was kind of that each time we got a contract, I shared it with the people who were nice enough to say they would take a look, and sometimes they'd just be like, yeah, that's not what you want right now. That's not something you should be even considering. It should be this, should be this. And thankfully, when Lauren got in touch with Johnny, we'd heard of the Horror Collective and the Studio Dome, and so we'd kind of like gone through the conversation there. So the next step was once they'd seen the film and they'd evaluated it and they'd sent us over a contract, read through it, and because we'd seen lots of others that weren't so good, it was easy to like compare and contrast basically. Whether this one was worth going for, and we just felt that they got the vibe of the film. They had come recommended from other people,
myself included. Yeah, I mean, what's one good thing about Shaked and Horror Collective and Studio Dome and Entertainment Squad, which is all his companies, they're just very honest. You know, he was at Epic, you know, in the past, so he knows all this, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything, and he's just very honest to filmmakers and says, well, this might be good, this might not. You will make money, you won't make money. This won't do that, and it's you go, oh, it's kind of a breath of fresh air. There's no bullshit. It's kind of sometimes the opposite. It's quite negative, but at the same time, you prefer that than someone going, oh my God, we're going to make loads of money and it's going to be amazing and all this. It's like, okay, well, it's going to be tough, but let's give it a go. And actually, sometimes that's quite refreshing as filmmakers. It's like, okay, yeah, great. It's not what we want to hear sometimes, but it's the truth. And it is hard out there. It's hard to get a film seen.
That's it. He was very much like, compared to other Zoom calls that I had where people were like kind of promising you Earth or sending you these like estimations, and you're like, wow, if that happens, that's great. You know, he felt very down to earth and was just, he wasn't selling you a dream that doesn't exist. It was just like, this is what you need to do. This is how we can give it its best chance. If you do this, then then you've done everything you can.
Yeah, which is great. And Neil, you felt the same way. It was kind of a joint decision between the three of you to go, yeah, this is what we want to do.
Yeah, I think there were like some other offers on the table, and I remember there was one where it did sort of involve a DVD release, but like in terms of like the return, we wouldn't have seen much return, and you know a little bit of me was like, oh, I'd love to see it on DVD, you know, on a shelf and stuff. But then it's like, but no one buys DVDs anymore. Everything is streaming, and actually that's where you're gonna make your money. So you've got to just kind of let the ego go and just go with the best choice.
No, I agree with that. There is still a market for DVDs, but that should not be your goal when doing a contract. So you're absolutely right. But weirdly, there is still quite a market for DVDs, but it's not massive. You'd much prefer to get this on stream where your friends can watch it and you can push your friends there. You can't push your friends to say no to buy a DVD. It's just, they're just going to go, cool, yeah, I'll do that. And they're not going to do it. It's you want them to be watching it on the platforms, which is on Amazon Prime now, right?
Yes.
So people can watch it on there now.
And Apple TV.
Apple TV, great. Yeah, and YouTube, I imagine.
Well, it was Google Play, but it's in the transitional period now, isn't it? So it's becoming just YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube's a good place. YouTube's the fastest growing market at the moment. It's a great place to watch stuff. It's really great. Yeah, Lauren?
No, I just agree that it's great. It's just, I feel that we sort of had a little review of a few of the offers, and it was just it was a great one. It was the strongest one. So just again, it was like I said, a real learning experience for me to be in that, like approaching these companies and saying, hey, we've made a movie, distribute, like, let's get it out there, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And I think this is, like you say, you know what you're getting, you know where they're going to put the movie, and you can see why I'd want it. So yeah, huge congratulations. It's an amazing achievement for, you know, something you guys went, come on, let's go make something. And now, you know, it's out there in the world, it's with a big distributor, and it feels like a big achievement. So huge congratulations to all three of you. Amazing work. Final bit of advice then for filmmakers going through what you've gone through, if you don't mind just giving, especially if someone has not made a feature film before, what would you say to them now? Neil, let's start with you.
In terms of what would be my advice? Okay, my advice would be like, I've got like a whole list of like 10 things, but
read them.
I would say, make a short film first. Don't jump into a feature. But no, I don't want to say that. Cut this.
But that was good. It's true.
No, it is true. Yeah. Go on. Okay. All right. I'll do that.
But there is look. It doesn't. It's for me. It's always like, look, don't not to make a feature if that's the way you want to make your first thing. But to save money, potentially a short is a better way to go. I would definitely agree with that. But the sooner you can make a feature after making short, the better. But yes, carry on.
Everything is basically like baby steps. Like, don't look at the whole like making of a movie, because you'll just get like absolutely daunted by it. If you just take your time, you know, I know a lot of people listening to this podcast are going to be doing this in like, you know, outside of their day jobs and stuff. Just take your time. Find other people to collaborate with. You know, Lauren and Mitch are great at networking. I am awful. So
like you say, so you find someone who's really good, and in this case, you found two people who are really good at it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's baby steps. It's doing just a little bit. Write a short, make a short. It might be rubbish. Shoot it on your phone. Shoot it any way you can, and then just go from there. It's you know, we rushed. You know, from going from a short film to a feature film, but that's because we broke this feature film up into little shorts. So that's, you know, that might be a way that other people can do it. But if you can't, just make your short.
Love that. It's good advice, Neil. Really is. Lauren?
I think mine would be to maintain your self-belief that you can, and not to get put off. I think that as you were saying, like this world that we're all really lucky to be a part of and just find ourselves within is just full of all different personality types, and you're going to come across lots of negative naysayers and people that are going to be like, oh God, do you really want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Really? You? Like, you know, and I think people can make you doubt yourself and question yourself. So I think like always maintain the passion for your stories, your world, and just fully, yes, I can and I will, and I know and I trust. So having that kind of mentality is probably like my main bit of advice, because I think it's too easy to get put off by people's negativity and negative experiences. So you gotta let Mel Robbins, let them have that opinion, but you know, you maintain your sense of purpose and your creativity, and fully know and trust that you absolutely can. And then kind of tying into what Neil just said, it's like finding your tribe and finding the people that you gel with and that you connect with, where you're going to elevate each other. And you know, it's in those moments where things aren't going right, where people are kind of saying no, but like continuing to push forward. And then sweat your network. Just sweat your network. There's going to be people that might have advice, and you know, I think just not being afraid to ask for advice in areas that you are unsure of, like me with the distribution side of things and the sales side of things, and you know, that kind of stuff. And even PRing it, like I kind of used my experience from working at record labels to put a press release together in the style of as if we're releasing an album, which really lent itself quite nicely to this particular project. Might not lend itself nicely to the next project that I'm gonna but it's like sweating the network, finding the people that can give us a bit of time to talk about like marketing strategy and bringing people in. So I guess those are my little bits of nuggets of wisdom that I learned on this wild ride of a journey.
Wonderful nuggets. Thanks, Lauren. Mitch?
Well, I mean, my first one would be to echo what they said, is that, find your team, because that is what's going to get you through, and lean on so many favors that you can. Like, we brought back a friend of mine and Neil's from school who was the voice of Brian in the songs, Alex Rawlins, a friend I work with in the music industry, Andrea Nonni. He played the guitar for us in those songs as well.
Brilliant.
So just like finding anyone who you think can help, and you know, they're more than happy to be involved if you reach out to them and like let them do their creative part. And the people that find the team that will be in the trenches with you, like Alex, our DOP again. There's a shot in the middle of the film where we do this 360 turn just before they all start tripping on acid. And I was ready to like just throw that idea in the bin. I was like, oh, let's just block it out instead. We haven't got time, because it was the place where we were paying the most for the location and everything. And so while I was starting to plan that, just quietly, Alex just started putting up lights everywhere so you could shoot it in a 360. And I was like, okay, I think we can do it this way. And he's like, no, I'm set up to do the 360. Let's go.
Brilliant.
11 takes of it, and it was great. And it actually saved us so much more time, because we weren't having to move around so much. So really find your team. And then the other big one I would say is like, take stock of what you've done and doing as you're going through it. It's so easy to get blinkered and think that like it's a never-ending thing, which can feel like. But try and celebrate each win. Because you know, not everyone does make a film, but you can get lost in that when you're doing it and you're seeing like how everyone else is going on around you. So like, take those moments to like check in with yourself and the team to like say, you know what, this has been really hard, but we've got Simon Callow in it now. Or you know what? It's been really hard. It's distributed now. And it's like, you've got to celebrate every moment because it's still going to be a slog to the next one.
So true. And what brilliant advice there, and from all three of you. Thank you so much for coming on the Filmmakers Podcast and chatting about your amazing film, Murder Ballads. It's an amazing achievement, like I've said. So really, really well done. And if you are lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next Tuesday, as always. Lauren Cornelius, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. As a fan of the podcast, to be a guest on it is iconic. So thank you so much for us.
Oh, absolute pleasure. And Neil Rickatson, thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much again. Just echoing Lauren, I listened to this podcast ever since Mitch turned me onto it, all those years ago, and it's great to be on it. Finally talking about something I made.
Yay! Congratulations. Mitchell Tolliday, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I guess in a way, Giles, you can say this is kind of your fault because I listened to the podcast, like spurred me on to like, no, actually, I will do this.
There you go. Well, that means the world to me anyway, that, we can inspire people. And that's what it's about. And hopefully you lot listening now will be inspired by these guys who were inspired in the first place. So brilliant, right? That's how it should work. Great. Well, thanks, everyone. You take care. We will see you all soon. Say bye-bye.
So much.
Bye.